and welcome to our second episode of Not aNUDder Neighbours podcast with me, Liz.
And me, Fiona.
Woo! Thank you to everybody who listened to our first episode. We very much appreciate it, and we loved the comments that you sent us. Big shout out to Sarah Blick from Nud for her lovely comments as well. Hopefully you will continue to enjoy it. It's 3 weeks since we last spoke though, so a lot has happened on Neighbours in the last 3 weeks, but nothing bigger in the world of Neighbours news that we're losing one of our own.
It's very sad. After 30 years, Toady, Toadfish, Rebecca, Jared, Vincenzo Rebecca, is that his name?
It is
I
now.
think so. He has decided that he does no longer want to live on Ramsay Street.
Oh, sad times. Do you know, I don't know if you remember, but when they released the news that he was doing the tour a while back, which we have tickets for,
Yes.
I said, I hope this doesn't mean he's leaving. And you and our good friend Claire assured me, no, it won't. He's just having a break.
Well, we were wrong. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I wanted to be wrong. Sadly, I wasn't. That's so sad, isn't it?
It's very sad, but I feel like...
I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
He's given it a good long stint, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been there a long time, and, you know, in Australia, the TV industry is so small, so
Yeah.
a lot of actors also work behind the camera as well, so it's a good...
Do you think that's what he's going to do?
Yeah, he said that he wants to do some directing, so he's going to still be in the Neighbours sphere,
good.
but behind the camera.
So adding to like Kate Kendall and Scott Major, we can now have Ryan Maloney as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that's exciting. When you were on set of Neighbours, did you meet Ryan?
So when I was doing my first day of shadowing, I was in the studio and they were filming a scene in the coffee shop, Harold's, and he was in that, and then one of the people who I was shadowing called him over to meet me afterwards. So I met him very briefly.
And we met him on the meet or greet that we did at the Neighbours Experience. So, yeah, and he was very nice, wasn't he?
He was lovely, and he's a lovely, chirpy man.
Such a legend.
And I think they would be very lucky to have him behind the scenes.
Yes, I always remember, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but when I went to Australia and I did the Neighbours night at the Elephant and Wheelbarrow, or whatever it was called, there was always this rumour that he'd been banned from doing it because he'd snogged too many of the fans. I've no idea if that's true or not, but good for him if he did.
Yeah.
Did you do? Was that still going when you were in Australia?
No, I lurked around the abandoned pub because they haven't done anything with it, but it had been closed down for quite a while.
So good. I met Dr. Carl Kennedy.
Yes.
And Dr. Darcy.
Ooh, nasty Darcy.
Exactly. He was very cuboid.
Oh.
Very strong and beefy.
Oh.
Looked a bit like Mr. Strong, but not red, and didn't have a little hat.
And not square.
No, he was quite square. That's what I
Okay.
mean. He was cuboid in his beefiness. It was impressive. And then the other person we had was little Felicity Scully, who was pocket size. And it really shocked me because I was like, compared to the other Scully girls, she always seemed like the most normal size.
Yeah.
And then you meet her and you're like, you could have put her in your pocket. And you're like, goodness me, how tiny must the other two be? Oh, no, it wasn't Felicity. I'm lying to you. It was a little one, Michelle Scully.
Yeah.
And she, absolutely tiny. So, yeah, they weren't allowed to sign autographs. But I managed to persuade them to, I managed to persuade both the doctors to sign a Christmas card for my mum.
Aww.
So she got her Christmas card from Dr. Darcy and Dr. Kennedy that year.
That's very cool.
It was very cool. Also, weird about that night, whilst we're on the topic, I was there with some girls I'd met whilst travelling around Australia. And one of them, her mate had come over to visit her for a little holiday. My friend was Miranda Hart.
Wow.
I know. So I had a few bevies with Miranda Hart at a neighbour's night. How random is that? She wasn't particularly famous at the time. I think she'd done a Maltesers ad and smacked the pony, and that was about it. So I just kind of remember watching her on telly after that. I think she did Not Going Out, and I was like, oh my God, that's Miranda that I met on. Only they didn't call her Miranda. They called her, what did they call her? Oh, I can't remember now. She had a nickname, Merm. I think it was Merm. And I did look it up. That is actually her, because I'm obviously face blind, so I can't recognise people normally. But I did remember her. So yeah, it was genuinely her. I didn't just meet somebody random and then claim it's her.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have seen the photos, and it's definitely her.
Yeah, it is. Yes, there is a photo of Miranda, and there's also photos of me with Carl and Darcy and Michelle.
Yeah. You're not making it up.
No,
I can vouch.
I really
for that.
did. It was very exciting. Anyway, I've digressed as usual. So Toady, we have loved your character on Neighbours over the years. You've been through so much. Do you remember like him when he was a schoolboy?
Bits of it. I remember him being very naughty.
Yeah. Because
And-
Stoney came in first, obviously,
Yes.
and then Toady came in. I think it was supposed to be like a 6-week or one of those small characters, and then people just loved him, so they kept him. But he's just been brilliant. That terrible haircut back in the day, terrible mullet.
I'm so glad that he was allowed to cut that off.
Me too, and I love. There's so many things about his character over the years that I've enjoyed. His wrestling has got to be one of the highlights for me.
Yeah, the wrestling is cool, and there's so many like good scenes with other characters where they really get into the wrestling spirit.
Yeah.
I think that's really nice.
Yeah. Do you know one of my very favourite storylines that he was ever involved in? And it's one of those, do you know those really silly storylines that are just like in one episode and then they're never mentioned again? But this, it was a Valentine's Day episode. I've probably shared this with you before. And they'd all forgotten to get presents for their girlfriends and wives, all the lads on the street. And so somebody had the great idea that they were going to go and get their girlfriend or wife's name tattooed on their backside or back or something.
Amazing.
So they all went to the tattoo parlour to get them done. Only the tattoo artist put the wrong names on the wrong men.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so I still always think, well, theoretically, it probably still says Susan on Toadie's bottom or something.
I bet she loved that. Though.
Yeah. Also, one of the best storylines, obviously, was, do you remember the naked episode?
Yes.
That was hilarious.
The cocksock episode. We've all been to that show. We all know what we're talking about. The cocksock episode.
I mean, that's one way of putting it, certainly. Yeah, absolutely. Where he and, both of them, in fact, Sonia as well, ended up naked it was at their house, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were hosting a dinner party.
Yeah, for a business colleague or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and his business colleague and his wife were naturists.
Yes.
So they wanted them to feel comfortable in their own house. It's an odd way to close a business deal, even if your business partner is a naturist.
Yeah, just got to love those storylines. But he's had so many serious ones as well. I mean, so much heartbreak.
Yeah.
Dee going over the cliff on his wedding day.
Yeah. Dee coming back 13 years later, who wasn't Dee.
No. And I was thinking just the other day about Nanny Alice and the poisoned shortbread.
I think she's one of my favourite villains of all time.
Oh, she was brilliant. Real love to hate kind of character.
Yeah.
And you can't forget, obviously, the utter, like, heartbreaking scenes when Sonia died.
Yeah. See, that was a bit of a weird time for me because I was just about to come home from my year in Australia and I could not watch that.
Really?
Because I was already very sad that I was coming home. So I thought I put it off for so long because I knew that it would just make me really, really depressed and horrible. So and then when I did watch it, I had to marathon through like 3 weeks of Neighbours, and then it was way too much all in one go. But it was beautiful, and it was really, really sad.
Yeah. We talked last time about you having had the wilderness years where your evil stepmother wouldn't let you watch it. Have there been any other periods where you've not watched for, like, because you're too emotional or you're away? Like, if you go on holiday, do you just catch up when you get back?
Yeah, I catch up now. So before, when we didn't have this option of streaming things, maybe there was like a week or two. I remember actually when I was doing work experience at the BBC a long time ago now, the only time I had a whole month where I couldn't watch Neighbours because it hadn't come onto iPlayer yet.
Right. Oh, that's gutting. I'm trying to think if there were any periods for me. I don't really know if there were any, to be honest. Oh, except when I went to Australia, I think it was a period where they were about 3 months ahead at that point.
Yeah.
So I jumped forward in a storyline. So when I left England, Drew and Libby were wonderfully happy, just married.
Oh.
And then when I got to Australia, everyone was crying because he'd died.
Was it that soon after they got married to when he died?
I mean, in my head it was, and might have been slightly more time. I can't remember. But and he'd just died. And so I was like, what? Like, what do you mean Drew's dead? And I was so gutted. And so I missed that whole thing. So I only, with you actually, we watched his death episode, didn't we?
Yeah, it's on the best bits on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Or Amazon Freebie.
And I watched that for the first time really recently. So how do we think Toady's going to leave?
Ooh.
Will they write him out completely? Have they said this?
It hasn't been confirmed yet.
Okay.
I think they're going to keep it a secret.
How would you like him to go? Would you like it like a big, like, death scene? Or do you want him to just go off to visit Callum and never actually come back? Or
I think in reality they'll probably keep it open for him to come back, seeing as he will just be behind the camera in real life.
Yeah, maybe he'll just go to Colac, just not come back for ages, and then there'll come a message saying, oh, he's decided he's staying down there or something.
I've been to Colac. It's not that far to visit.
Is it not?
No.
I mean, they make it sound like it's quite
like
a long distance.
The other side of Australia, but it's really not. It's maybe 3 hours.
Well, obviously his character is supposed to be there at the moment. So that leads us on to talking about, and I know we've still got one other thing to talk about later, which we'll come back to, because we need your help with something. Well, Fiona
please.
does. So we'll come back to that. But let's talk about the last few weeks. Now, we've both been a bit useless at writing down our notes, so we're going to have to try and remember. I've written some notes from the first week after our last podcast, and so we'll go through those, and you've got a very small amount of notes from this week. I
feel like I can pad it out.
Okay, well, some of them probably, because quite a few of the storylines I think started about 3 weeks ago. So let's, first of all, so I've got here Victor's collapse, and then him resting in Jane's bed and Sam being upset and Jane getting feelings.
Yes, so this storyline is...
It's quite sad.
Yeah.
Do you think it's just their way of getting rid of Mike's character? Because obviously Guy Pearce was unlikely to come back.
Yeah, it's nice that he wanted to continue it when the reboot happened.
And I'm glad they haven't killed him off.
Yes.
Because that was always the worry, was that he was going off biking and that he was going to have a terrible accident and things. So they haven't done that.
Yeah.
And I kind of get why she would have these residual feelings for her ex-husband. That would make sense.
I mean, he is there and present, and he's not bad looking.
No, and he's really trying to impress her.
And I think he's trying to do all right for his kids and make amends for all the bad stuff that he's done in the past.
And he got the vase back. So I kind of get it. But I can understand Sam being upset.
Yeah, she's a sweetie.
Yeah, I do worry for Jane that she's going to have her heart broken all over again, lose Mike, then lose Victor.
Yeah.
Poor Jane. She's never been very lucky in love, has she?
No. She needs a nice man who's not just about to die.
And not about to scam her from her money.
Yes.
Aww.
Who's not about to go off on a motorbike adventure.
Well, she did have a nice man and she dropped him for Mike.
Yeah. Sorry.
Clive, my ultimate favourite. We'll
Clive.
talk more about our favourite characters another day, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so another of the biggest stories, obviously, was Leo, Holly, and the Crimesborough podcast.
Yes.
We love the Crimesborough podcast.
It's amazing. So, Liv Bellon.
Oh, very good.
Who-
That's a name I'll forget instantly.
I just remember it because it sounds like her name's Liv Bellend.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I remember
Of course
her
it
name.
is. But of course there would be a podcast about the crime in Erinsborough, because there's been so much crime in Erinsborough over the years.
Yeah, they've got a lot of material to work with.
I like the fact that there's, she's going to be selling it for big bucks because, of course, the whole world wants to hear about the crime in Erinsborough.
Yeah.
It's such a great storyline. And I'm really enjoying Holly being Detective Holly. And she's so bad at it.
Well, she was.
But
now
we think she's onto it.
She is the hero.
Yeah, she's coming into her own, isn't it? I have actually written down here 3 weeks ago, Dr. Sleazeball, is he the poisoner?
Dr. Arsehole.
Yes, I can't believe they said that on Neighbours.
Do you have to bleep that out, or is that okay because they've said it on Neighbours?
Well, you can say it. I can't possibly say it.
Sorry, Dad.
Can I just give a round of applause to whoever came up with the name for the Chinese takeaway, where a Chinese restaurant? That was absolutely brilliant. Erin's Bao. Mm-hmm. I loved that. That was absolute brilliance. Leo's Pride. Can we talk about that?
Yes. Leo, I know that you don't really want to have your girlfriend buy the house out from under you, which I don't understand why, because she's not doing it out of charity. No. She lives there and she wants to stay there.
Exactly. And if she doesn't live there, she's gonna not have a home. Like, why wouldn't you want your girlfriend to have a home?
Yeah. So the option was, don't let your girlfriend buy the house from you, or sell it to Vera Punt.
Yes.
Those were the options.
Yeah.
Or Aaron, but Aaron's taken himself out of the picture.
Yeah.
Aaron would have been okay. But now you've got Vera Punt coming round.
Those were great scenes, though.
She is fabulous.
We do love Vera Punt. Long may there be more Vera Punt.
Yeah. I'm glad that she's now integrated herself into everybody's lives. Yes. And we can see her more.
Yes, although presumably not in the pool after they basically read her the riot act.
Yeah. I think they need to set some firm boundaries.
It's a good job one of the housemates is a legal negotiator.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Although, while we're on the topic of Mac, does she ever actually do her real job? Because in the last few weeks, we've seen her running a cafe, we've seen her at home a lot, and then she's talking about going off on holiday to Margaret River.
Yeah, and she's she's got 2 jobs. So she works with Toady and she works at the council.
And she spent a lot of time at the hospital. Like, she can't have been doing either of these 2 jobs in the last... I'm worried for her, in fact, because there was even some muttering at one point about are you sure you shouldn't be doing your work? And she was like, oh, no, I'll be fine. I'll just catch up at some point or something.
Yeah, that's a lot of catching up to do.
It is. But if anyone could, it would be Mag. She is superhuman.
She is very hardworking when she wants to be.
Exactly.
When she's actually working.
The other thing about the house being for sale, it was, that really stupid thing of like, oh, if only they knew rich people. I mean, obviously Krista didn't get mentioned for ages. And then when they were talking about combining their wages, why wasn't Krista's involved in that bit?
Who knows? Because.
Yeah, and they, again, didn't think of Victor for ages. And also, now, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the expert of remembering things. But when Hendrix died, am I not right in thinking that the in-laws said they were going to buy Mac a property?
Yes.
What happened there then?
She refused to take them up on that offer.
Well, that was foolish.
Because she is a noble person, too noble for her own good.
But she presumably could have gone back to them and gone...
You'd think so.
They would have given us some money or something, wouldn't they? Because they were filthy rich.
Yeah. Pierce was a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. Presumably she's still in touch with him.
Yeah.
Whichever Pierce it was.
Exactly.
So
both of them.
I was
she
again
could have
thinking...
had double the money.
Yeah, I was thinking... Yeah, again, if only they knew some rich people. Oh, wait. She literally has her in-laws.
Yeah. And her dad, he's not rich, but he's got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he was absent from her life and didn't accept her for who she was. So he could have probably given her something.
Yeah.
And she's got 2 jobs and she's a lawyer.
Yeah. Well, and we could have, could have used his hacking skills for good. Monetized a legal use of his skills somehow.
Yeah, somehow like skimmed the interest of banks.
I mean, I wasn't thinking about actual hacking. I was thinking more like he could use his IT skills to like create some apps or something,
That's true.
But sure, let's go with robbing banks.
Or just hacking into Bitcoin or something, because that's not real money, is it?
Yeah. Also, you might not even remember this. I've written down here, lamest party ever. There was a party at the house, at the Mac and Haz and Co house, and it was just the worst party ever. Like, nobody was there. They said, we're going to have a big party. And then it was just the usual people.
Yeah.
And then they had all given up by about 7 p.m.
Sounds like one of my parties.
Also, right, this is the last thing I've got written down.
Okay.
And then we're on to your bits.
Okay.
I've just written about Nell. How come she's suddenly into karate? She's a great artist and she's got a best friend we never knew about. Like, all these sudden things they've invented for her.
Well, there was a 2-year gap.
Yes, but we've been back now for a year and a bit.
Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember her talking about karate.
Oh, really?
I think this is the first time we've seen her in her karate get-up,
okay.
But that didn't seem odd to me, so I think she must have mentioned it a few times before. And I think she's into, like, anime and stuff, so it kind of fits in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like she's just developed all these skills.
It is.
From nothing.
She's suddenly an amazing artist. Who knew? And also this best friend. Dodgy best friend.
Yeah. Her best friend who was actually
knocking Susan down.
Yeah, knocking Susan down.
Stealing Harold's tuba.
And the...
the credit cards.
Everything. Just going into Irene Rising and just helping themselves.
Yeah.
Her and her other mates, because there was more than one person who knocked Susan down.
Yes. And she'd obviously was the one that had taken the master key. Although she must have then had a copy made or something, because Jane then had the master key, didn't she? I was a bit confused about that.
Yeah, I think she must have had it copied, but then
also got herself a key ring,
had a tag with exactly the same everything as the original master key.
Yeah, it's impressive. Maybe Nell made it for her because she's such a great artist all of a sudden.
Maybe,
even though she didn't suspect her best friend initially of being this terrible human being.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that JJ was the person who used his detective skills to work out what was happening.
Yeah.
Holly also has been using her detective skills. She's got there eventually. She's finally worked out who the culprit is.
She's accidentally hit on the right person.
Yeah. So my question is, what do the police actually do? Because every crime has been solved by other people on Ramsay Street.
I mean, you've got a good point there. Andrew clearly has some nice barbecue skills.
Yes.
And he hasn't even got his best friend, distracting him at the moment.
Exactly.
So, yeah, he's not really got... He didn't even know that his wife didn't have friends.
That's true.
So, yeah, not the greatest detective ever. I mean, not as bad as when Mark was a police officer, and he was the worst police officer.
Yeah, Mark Brennan was possibly the most ridiculous police officer of all time. And I think they should seriously consider bringing back Steiger, because he was the best of all the best.
He was good, you're right.
And then they could bring Levi back as his little sidekick.
Ah, Levi, I'd forgotten about him.
He was beautiful.
He was beautiful. So the police need to pull the socks up, or Holly and JJ need to start their own detective agency.
I think so. I think they should team up with John Wong.
I mean, John Wong is amazing.
Yes, but he hasn't been around for a while.
No.
And they could offer their skills for a cut price of what John Wong...
Or just undercut him and go straight to Paul, because Paul has him on a retainer.
Yeah.
So they could just say, look, John Wong probably cost you a lot.
Yeah.
We'll do it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to have somebody that he wants to investigate.
Absolutely.
And now Holly and JJ can be those people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Holly is certainly not adverse to using dirty tactics.
No.
With the hairspray.
No, exactly. And pretending to be Mackenzie.
Yeah. So I think she has all the attributes that Paul would admire in a private detective. Yeah.
I mean, she's certainly got some of Izzy's genes in her, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Which I love. I love that about her. Now, if you've got any comments on the last few weeks, we'd love to hear them.
Yes, please.
If you've got any questions for us, we'd love to hear those too. We're hoping next time to have a guest with us to chat about everything. And don't forget, if you would like to be one of our guests, to let us know, and we will stick you on our list. We've got a few names on there.
We have. It's growing.
So we've just got to get round to actually organising our lives and sorting it out now.
Yeah.
And then we will have some guests from the aNUDder community.
Woo!
So that is very exciting. Now, we are just going to talk about one last thing.
Yes, please.
Fiona, do you want to explain the situation?
Okay, so I have not had my own vehicle for a whole year. I was looking for a car to get around in.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally bought a van instead.
How do you accidentally buy a van?
Well, I found it on Facebook and it was cheap and it was exactly the right kind of van that I was looking for. So
even though you didn't know you were looking for a van?
I've always had the idea that I wanted a little van.
Okay.
So it's been in the back burner of my mind for many years. So I found this on Facebook and I thought, right, this is my van.
Okay, so what is the problem here? What do we need people's help with?
So I always name my cars after Neighbour's alumni.
What have your previous vehicles been called?
Madge.
Okay, what kind of car was Madge?
Madge was a little Fiesta.
Ah,
Little Ford Fiesta. I've had Lance before.
yeah.
He was also a Fiesta.
Okay.
I had a big string of
Fiestas.
Yeah. Other cars
Fiesta
are available.
of Fiestas.
Woo-hoo.
So, what are we calling Fiona's new van?
It's a Suzuki. It's a little Suzuki Carry. Very cute little thing. Because it's a Suzuki, I'd like it to have a Japanese inspired name.
Oh.
Oh, so this is the question.
Okay.
I've narrowed it down to 2 options.
Leo and David.
Leo and David or Mr. Udagawa.
Oh, we love Mr. Udagawa.
Mr. Udagawa is obviously the ultimate Japanese icon that
Yes.
ever existed.
I still can't remember whether he ever did have a first name.
I don't know. It'll be on the internet somewhere.
Probably.
If you know, let us know. So, and I didn't want to call it Leo or David.
Too
either.
obvious.
So, I've gone a bit more obscure.
Okay.
So the options are Mr. Udagawa, the ultimate Japanese businessman
Yep.
to ever walk this planet, or Dr. Boo, in remembrance
Homage.
of little
David.
David, who is no longer with us and only on the side of
Boo.
Mel's van. And I really don't know which one to decide.
Okay.
So please help me decide.
So, do we call your little Suzuki van Mr. Udagawa or Dr. Boo?
Those are your options. Please let us know. And we will.
Are you gonna actually, like, if we have a vote, are you gonna do what the people say, or will you just make up your own mind? Is this gonna be a Boating McBoatface situation?
I'm not sure. I like both of them. I am kind of.
Are you leaning toward? Don't tell us which one.
Okay.
But are you leaning towards one of them?
I am leaning towards one of them.
Okay.
But I really don't know because I would like to call it both these things. So.
Right. I mean, you could call it like Boo Udagawa.
Udagawa.
I mean, you could call it Budagawa.
I think that would
Or
be too obscure.
Mr. Doctor or something. But, okay, right. Mr. Udagawa or Dr. Boo, please tell us which of those 2 names should Fiona call her new van. I love it. Right, that is all we've got time for today, and we will be back when we next get round to it. Do keep your questions coming, your comments coming, and don't forget, if you'd like to be our guest in a future episode of Not aNUDder Neighbours podcast, then let us know that too. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
See you again next time.
Bye.